Today's episode of RBR is brought to you by Squarespace. Expand your online presence through websites and much more. Hey guys, welcome back to RBR. I'm your host Raz. Now I'm a little bit delayed on the new S-Class, but it's going to be worth it for you guys. Whereas every other video has been in a studio setting, we get to have a look at the brand new car, in the best color, or the most popular one in black, and in the wild in normal surroundings. So it's been worth a little bit extra weight, but you're going to get the car in reality here. So today we're going to go over a little bit of the history of the S-Class, more to do with how the design has changed over time, and particular focus on some parts of the interior that you wouldn't believe actually bring back some things from the past. So stay to have a look at that. I will show you some of the older S-Classes and go even further back, but today we are checking out the brand new S-Class W223 in the S500 4MATIC. So guys, we're nearing the release of the new RBR website and the new merchandise, all thanks to Squarespace. Now, as I'm creating new articles, the thing I love about Squarespace is how easy it is to get a post up. And I need to save time because I've got so much editing to do for you guys on YouTube, posts to do on Instagram as well. I need a system that can put up posts really quickly, add images, and look as professional as everything else that I put out. And that's exactly what Squarespace does. Everything matches the rest of my branding, and it's so easy and powerful. Got a great offer for you guys as well. Go to squarespace.com/removebeforerace, use the code removebeforerace, and you'll get 10% off your first website or domain purchase. Thanks again, Squarespace, and now to the new S-Class. So guys, where Mercedes will tell you that the history of the S-Class began with the 187 model or the 220, or maybe the Ponton in the W180 or the W111, or the first S-Class of its name, the W116. For me, I think it goes even further back. I think it goes to the first patent motor car, Bertha Benz's Ride. I think S-Class and Mercedes-Benz are, though so much further back, the idea of total luxury, the best safety, the best technology is linked to Mercedes-Benz, and that is the essence of the S-Class as well. But of course, the first one was definitely the W116. Now, this is a legend in its right because it is the first S-Class. Now, the S-Class has always been about safety from day one, and this first 116 brought in ABS brakes for the first time, making cars much safer on the road, with a whole host of more safety options in this series. So this is a design that'll never go out of fashion. It looks absolutely fantastic and is the iconic S-Class. That's why the W126 stayed fairly close to it in terms of design, more of a bit of an evolution. Now, I want you to pay close attention to the design because I'm focusing on it a bit today, particular reference to the grille and the size of the car, how it increases. After this car came the W140. Now, again, this car had so much presence and it brought, again, so much technology along with it, as you can see below there. But truly had a dominating profile with its more boxy look. And in the interior, well, it had some quirks that we're going to look at later in the review as well. The one after this was W220. Very soft looks, a really smallish kind of grille, and nothing that really stands out in terms of the design. Yes, it brought along more technological achievements, but it doesn't stand out in my mind as a standout S-Class. After this, W221, I think this was a return to form for the S-Class. Bigger grille, muscular shoulders, big arches, a lot of that W204 like you saw in the C-Class, the nice big arches and muscular features of this car. Again, more technical achievements, the interior that much better than the previous generation, a true evolution that we'll go into later. And then after that, our predecessor to today's car, which is the most relevant, of course, the W222. Again, I think this one is going to be the sweet spot. It has a lot of the analog feel of the previous cars without going to the super high-tech version that our car today is in the W223. Again, this car has grown a little bit, but when you compare the two side by side, and I'm comparing AMG line to completely standard line here, you will see, and I loved a comment that someone made on my Instagram, how the 222 kind of looks like an ill-fitting suit now compared to this, which is almost like a Tom Ford suit. And I love that analogy because I think it really fits. The spy shots I wasn't that sure about because you couldn't really make out what was going on. But I do like the thin bezel of the increased size of the front grille here. And generally that's the first look that you get, but the grille doesn't really dominate your first impression of this car, which is kind of strange. You just kind of look at it and say, well, it's an S-Class. And in a lot of ways, it does look similar to the W222 for me. So you saw how the car has grown over time. You've seen how it's kind of become more modern over time. In the last few generations particularly, you'll notice how the lines on the car have reduced every single time, from those wider arches in the 221 to more simplified lines in 222, and now in 223 we've got even more simplified lines. Less being more, sensual purity, as Gordon Wagner loves to talk about. So in this standard version, you can see all we have is suggestions of shape rather than a plethora of lines on the side of the car. Yet the car still looks muscular. To me, it looks smaller than the W222, even though this is a long wheelbase car. And a lot of that is due to like shorter overhangs. We've got a lot smaller lights. Now these lights are very, very special. These are the digital lights. And what these will do, they will display warning signs on the floor in front of you. For example, if you're going into an area that's got narrow lanes, it will show you the width of the car for you to drive forward. I mean, how awesome is that, to protect your car and to be able to travel where you want to go? Or if it sees a warning sign or roadworks coming up, it will display that on the floor. If it sees a pedestrian walking across, it will light them up so you can see them better. This is the future of the headlight, and it all, of course, comes in S-Class, which always brings massive technical changes into every new generation. Also in the light design, you've got your typical eyebrow, which I think was really born in the AMG GT with that signature upside down tick. But within it, you've got 3 light dots. And I mentioned this to you guys before in E-Class reviews, etc., that the S-Class will always have 3 light dots. E-Class will have 2, C-Class probably 1, and that relates to how the 222 had those 3 light beams as well. So this idea of 3 linking directly to S-Class. Now, just to slow down a little bit and take this design in a little more, I really like the standard car, and I haven't liked the standard car in previous S-Classes in terms of the modern ones. So it's nice that they've really designed this in a way that it doesn't look inferior to the AMG line version. In fact, in many ways, I think it looks more S-Class. I do like the front lower trim, which reminds me of the concept Maybach cars, particularly the Vision 6 Coupe and Cabriolet. You see that same chrome trim going around the bottom. It's even more obvious then if we look at the AMG line, where you see it's almost identical to those Maybach concepts. We'll get onto the future of Maybach in a little while, but that's nice to see the best parts, one of their coolest concept cars, come into their flagship. The lower mouths are completely covered, they're completely aerodynamic. You've got a lot of use of chrome, as you would expect to find in a luxury S-Class. And again, I'm going to come back to the chrome on the grille. I like the slim bezel. I like the chrome elements within the grille itself. And in person, the shape is just very, very S-Class. Another nice change is you actually get the small black Mercedes star just above the grille here, which we've never had before. It actually looks quite good, but I think it's a little bit spec dependent because I've seen it on silver and white cars. Just doesn't look as good to me, but it's really, really nice on the black car. The side, again, like I said, really clean, and what really helps with that is these door handles here. I want to show you how they work. These are optional extra, the flush door handles. So they either work with the key or they work with just a swipe across here, and then they open up. You see the lovely Mercedes-Benz lettering inside. These are optional extra. I know a lot of you have complained that in colder climates these type of handles don't work. Well then don't worry, you can option them out and not have them. Again, on the side, you've got loads of choice of different alloy wheels. I love these ones. They're the center locking design, as you would have found in like AMGs and Maybachs, etc. Again, standard S-Class, not being inferior to the other trim lines that are available. On the rear, it's a different story. I'm not sure about these rear lights. They're very slim, they're animated. It does look like an S-Class, but immediately I'm thinking CLS, I'm thinking the look of the new GLE as well. I don't know if it's distinctive enough as S-Class, but I guess you could say the same then about the previous gen 222, how it kind of looked like C-Class, and the previous gen to that kind of looked like C-Class as well. I guess the S-Class never has really had its own identity because it provides identity to the rest of Mercedes-Benz. Now, let's look at the other trim. That's AMG line. More aggressive. You've got, I think, a larger looking front bumper here. You've got, of course, extended side sills, less chrome on the side as well. A very different look, a more sporty look, not superior in any way, but definitely a sportier arrangement versus the standard line. And I hope to show you more details on AMG line when we get to drive the car in not but a few months' time. The overall C figure for aerodynamics has improved on this design, despite the fact that the front is larger as well. So it's 0.22 on aerodynamics, which makes it one of the most aerodynamic vehicles in the world, which is especially impressive for this size of luxury car. One thing I must say I find really funny is when I post S-Class, you get all the guys commenting at the bottom that, bro, I'd rather have a flying spur, innit? And I'm sitting there thinking, well, this is like a 70 grand car. And mate, that's like 180 or 250 or whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure it's just the Cuzzy-Bo drug dealers, but I just don't get it. It's a bit of a compliment, maybe, I don't know. Maybe the S-Class is so brilliant that you would compare it to Flying Spur rather than 7 Series and A8. I've never seen anyone compare an A8 to a Flying Spur. So there's a bunch of different engine variants that you can get. They're based on two main engines, one petrol, one diesel. The petrol one is the M256. Straight 6 petrol engine, again 48 volt system. You can get it in either a 450 4MATIC or a 500 4MATIC as we have here today. They both have different power levels, as you can see, or you can go to the diesel version, which I'm so glad still exists. The standard one is the 350D. This is of course with the OM656 engine, and then you can go up to 350D 4MATIC or go for the 450D 4MATIC, and those are the different powers available on those cars. Now, speaking of different S-Classes, quick talk about the future. S-Class will always have a Maybach version now in the modern age. So Mercedes-Maybach have been testing one, we've seen it going around. Because this car already looks so similar to the Maybach version, I expect it to look something like this, maybe something even more special. But you can see the grille design really works with that thinner bezel, and it looks a lot more like, say, the GLS Maybach that we reviewed. It looks a lot more like the Maybach Vision 6 concept as well. So the S-Class, well prepared for Maybach. I expect it would have the same sort of engine system as the GLS 600 had as well. Now, so much about S-Class is about sitting inside it, and so much about this S-Class is how much that front dashboard has changed. Or has it? So here we are inside the S-Class. First of all, check out the new key. I showed this to you in my first look in the camo car, but you can also get it in a chrome finish. I like this style of key for S-Class because it looks very luxurious. I'm not sure if I want to see that, say, in an AMG or a sportier car like the C-Class, so let's see whether this trickles down, or will S-Class actually have a unique key going into the future? I think that would be awesome. So that's the key, that's lovely. Let's put that here in this lovely storage compartment. Now, the first thing I want to talk about on S-Class is how the little things have all been changed, because it's so important for S-Class to change the design and bring Mercedes to another level in the next generation. I know cars like A-Class, etc. have brought big design changes outside and into Mercedes-Benz, but really the big change I want to see on S-Class. And you really do see that. And when I mean that, I'm talking about every single little switch. Let's have a look at all of them. First of all, for example, the lighting switch here. Completely different, like completely different. You never would have seen this on any other Mercedes-Benz before. It mimics the look of the engine start-stop button, which again, it's different. I like how you've got this ribbed kind of texture across the buttons that carries across, for example, let's look at the door handle. Lovely shape. So a similar shape to what we've had before, but integrated with the unlock buttons. That carries across the same shape into your seat switches over here. And again, that ribbed texture, which is very nice. Nice tactile feel there. New buttons for all your heated seats. Your window buttons, all completely different. It's so great to have everything that is got nothing to do with the previous generations. You've got new stalks here as well for your driving. They still do feel a bit flimsy though, like the A-Class, though I'm not going to start trying to break them. It's just how they feel in a tactile way. The steering wheel is the same essentially as what we get in the new E-Class, because that's the car that debuted it. We've got bigger gear shifters here as well, which have a really nice feel to it. Now, of course, I can't use them. Remember, this is all static. I'm not allowed to drive the car at all. Then let's look at the vents. Now, again, completely different style, and you'll notice you have a little button which is lighted at the bottom to tell you how open the vent is, 3 being completely open and none being completely closed. So these vents are interesting. I'm trying to gauge at the moment how well you can direct them to you, because the angle is quite upright. Similar with these vents up top, which I'm going to get back to in a minute. They sit in an asymmetrical shape versus the screen, which annoys a lot of people. I think there's a reason for it, which I'll come back to. But again, I'm not sure how much direction I can get these to point towards me, but they are, again, a really nice new design. So everything is fresh, everything is new in S-Class. Storage compartment here, got 2 cup holders, USB-C, charging cable, really closes in a really satisfactory way. Then in here again, we've got another area to charge your device, more USB-C charging cables as well. Dynamic select button is now under the screen, and you can choose the different modes and you get a nice readout of what's here. And of course, individual mode, you can change things as well as you have been able to do in the past. Even the seat belts have a light within them to say, this guy's not wearing a seatbelt. Look, it's flashing red. So that's just the basics. And I really wanted to concentrate on the basics because we've been over the infotainment system in the past. I'll go more into MBUX when we can drive the car. Quick refresher, we've got a massive new OLED screen here, which has got the most up-to-date version of MBUX. It's a big touchscreen device. Of course, you can interact with it with the voice as well. And again, I'll show you the new MBUX voice assistant when we do the full drive. But again, today I want to talk again more about the bare basics of S-Class. Now, this is a big departure versus the last few cars, starting from 220, 221 and 222, which all had a similar kind of shape. But when you compare those cars to the ones prior, I'm talking the first S-Classes, they were nothing like it, particularly the last one, 222, with the large screen and the vents down below the screen, etc., and the swooping front dashboard, though lovely, didn't connect with the original S-Class at all. Whereas when I was looking at this car, like I found when we reviewed the G-Wagon's new interior, so much came from the original car, and the same is true of this. Let's just look first at the door card. Now, at first look, it's quite a minimalistic design, quite normal in terms of a door card shape, but when you look at the details versus that original S-Class, you notice the top door line is exactly the same. The line that flows beneath the window, exactly the same. The shape of the door handle is exactly the same. And then the same idea carries through into your main area. So I'm with you guys. I'm not sure about having just a massive screen and nothing else around it. The reason Mercedes gives for this area, which I think is a bit too plain, is A, they want minimalistic design, and B, they want a dashboard where you can see more of the bonnet and more of the world and less intrusion of a bulky area here. And they do achieve that, okay? When you sit in here versus previous S-Class, there's less in your way as a driver. In my mind, I would have loved to have seen some kind of canopy over the front driver zone to make it look more like a driver zone and less like an iPad. I know you guys have commented how the bezels are quite large on this front. But then just in terms of structure, let's have a look at the original S-Class and put those features over the top of this. Suddenly you can see that center console exactly the same shape, even though the modern one is a screen. The fact is the controls of the car sit there in the middle. And then the vents above it, again, in the exact same place. Even the placement, I feel, of the driver zone, though our modern one is a 3D screen, is exactly the same as that car. So suddenly when you look at just the structure of the original car versus the structure of this car, they are very, very, very similar. And I know what Gordon Wagner is like. He loves throwbacks, but brought into a modern touch, and that is exactly what this S-Class is. We cannot deny the fact that it links inextricably to the original S. Quick note on the 3D screen. I talked about it in both of my last S-Class videos because I love it. Now, if you ever experience something like the Nintendo 3DS, think of this as 10 stages ahead. There's multiple cameras behind the screen. Now, I can't pick it up with my camera, but I hope I can find something via Mercedes that will show it better. Essentially, if we're looking, for example, at the sports design version, the long tube looks like it's literally a long tube. So it looks like it's moving when I'm moving my head, and it's not intrusive at all. Like, I can look up straight away and focus. So not at all like the 3DS, but it makes everything within the screen seem alive and more analog almost, if that makes sense. Like the dials are real and the little textures are real, and the font sits in front of the other stuff that's meant to be knocked back and not in your face. It's really incredible. It's a game changer for me as a driver zone. I don't generally like digital ones. As I've said to you guys, I prefer analog, like a nice watch. This is the first digital driver zone, despite having an ugly bezel, that to me is as good as analog. I can't believe I'm saying that, but the 3D tech is amazing. I can't wait to see that in an AMG S-Class. Now again, like all Mercedes, you can switch to different designs. I love Exclusive, which is a white theme design just for S-Class. Then you have Understated, which the A-Class debuted, which knocks everything back. And you can change the ambient lighting color of that to whatever you want, which is great. And of course, you have the traditional Classic, which is also cool. You get the full screen navigation, as we showed in the past as well. So lots of choices to customize your driver zone. Though I don't like the fact that you cannot customize the sides, information on the sides rather, like you could in the previous ones. I think that is something that should come back into this in the future. Now, one other thing that the S-Class has is a upgraded augmented reality heads-up display. Now, the upgraded one, which we haven't got in this car today, but we will see in the future, the size of the screen or the data that you see in front of you is the equivalent of a 77-inch diagonal-wise monitor. And that is huge. And because of that, you get your road markings highlighted by the system. You get fishbone-like navigation arrows telling you which junctions to take and turn. And it literally takes over the significant part of your driving zone in front, but it sits many meters further back than your traditional HUD system, so it doesn't get in the way. Rather, it's like literally you're seeing stuff from a video game. You're seeing bits of the road highlighted. You're seeing arrows, navigation data, text, etc. Again, this is a game changer. I'm not seeing it anywhere else. I don't think you're going to see it for a while. Again, debuting in the Tech King, that is the S-Class. And again, we can set up and look at the different ways the car can recognize you security-wise. For example, the fingerprint, the voice recognition, the facial recognition. There's a lot of ways to get this car to load up your personal settings, and we're going to do that when we go on the full drive. Now again, S-Class, all about comfort. These seats, really, really comfortable. These are the diamond stitch seats. They look fantastic. This is pretty much the standard S-Class interior as well. And there are 19 motors within the front seats in order to adjust them and to massage you. There's 10 different massage functions as well. Again, really going for the comfort of the front passengers and the rear. In terms of general room, we've got increased head and elbow room for the front passengers and the rear ones. So as you'd expect with the car growing a little bit, you're getting much more space within the car. And the short wheelbase especially has gained a lot more legroom versus what it had before. Now I mentioned the non-centered air vents, which drive people crazy, but I think this is a bit of a throwback to the W140. Let me show you what those look like. Now I'm not saying that's great, and it does drive me a little bit crazy, but then when I'm looking from the driver's perspective, the air vents are centered. I don't know whether that was a consideration. I'm just guessing. If they were more this way, I think less of the air from that left one would hit me as well. Again, I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just trying to think, what were the engineers thinking? One final note on MBUX is MBUX Interior Assist. Now this is clever stuff. This is the part where it recognizes A, who's speaking, and B, say I'm the driver, I got the rear blind up. If I turn around and look back, the car will know that I'm doing it through its cameras and actually put the rear blind down. Or for example, if you have a kid sitting in the back and they haven't put their seatbelt on, the cameras will recognize that it is a small human who hasn't got his seatbelt on and tell the driver. I mean, this is next generation stuff that we've never seen before. And we're going to experience again all of that when we go on the full drive, along with the updated Drive Pilot and the assistance systems that have made this an even better car to drive when you're not actually driving it. Another big thing for a techie like me, I've always wondered why cars aren't easily updatable online. I mean, surely you should just be able to get new features, much like in the Tesla cars, and not enough of the big marques have gotten into that. Now this S-Class, more than 50 different electronic components can be updated in this car, and that ranges from the MBUX system to the driver zone, etc., and bring you all the latest features via over-the-air updates. And this should have happened a long time ago, but I'm glad that the S-Class is making that more commonplace. Now, where we can complain about the front of the car's design, the rear, I think, is undisputed. It looks great. I prefer the minimalistic door cards versus what we had previously. Obviously, you've got more room. This is a standard S-Class and it's trimmed fantastically well. You've got, of course, the new tablet system with the full MBUX within it as well. But again, we will have to explore that. I really want to take this car to a McDonald's drive-through, okay? Not because other YouTubers do it, but because, as you know from our vlogs, we love getting McDonald's on press trips, and that's what we're going to do next time. We're going to rock up at a drive-through with our 10-degree rear-wheel steering, get a fish fillet and a McFlurry, and see what it's like to cruise in the back of the S-Class. So guys, I hope you enjoyed what was essentially a first look walk around of the new S-Class. Super excited to drive it. I know I've told you a load of things that I'm going to show you in the future I apologize for that, but for a car like this, you can't do it justice with 1 or 2 videos. You've got to go full out and really explore the history and the other bits and pieces. That's what we're doing. If you've enjoyed this, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you next time when we take the new S-Class for a drive.